It's working. It's working now, okay. Good morning everyone. Good morning, let's all settle down so that we get started. Good morning and welcome to day 2 of the conference. I'm sure we all enjoyed the first day yesterday, and today will even be a better day, okay? So let me just start with a few housekeeping issues. We are going to have 3 rounds of concurrent sessions today. The first round will be from 11 o'clock to 12:30, and then at 12:30 we will go for lunch. Lunch will be at the Injabulo venue. The Injabulo venue. If you don't know where it is, please feel free to ask anybody putting on a blue lanyard, and that person will be one of the Saidi members of staff, or you can ask any staff from this hotel. So the Injabulo venue will be the lunch venue from 12:30 to 2 o'clock. And then after lunch, we go for the second round of concurrent sessions that will start at 2 and it will run until 3:30. And at 3:30, we come here to the foyer for some refreshments and some bit of networking. And then after tea, we go back for the third round of concurrent sessions that will run from 4 o'clock until 6 o'clock. So we have a lot of those concurrent sessions running. To save time, we would like to encourage all presenters, please, to send your presentations to the respective rooms. Email your presentations in advance to those rooms. The email addresses are shown on the screens. Take note of the room where you'll be presenting and the email address, and please do send your presentation early enough. Some of them take too long to download, so we don't like to spend time when the presentation is supposed to be happening, downloading presentations. And also...
Sorry, just a correction. The first email address there is khotla@siyaphumelela.org.za, not .org.com. So it's all siyaphumelela.org.za. Thanks.
Thanks very much, Ashton. Yes, so it's the name of the room or the number of the room, and then at saide.org.za.
And sorry, I see they've also spelled Siyaphumelela incorrectly for some of those email addresses. So we'll be updating those. I hope you all know how to spell Siyaphumelela. Thanks.
So thank you, Ashton. So presenters and chairpersons, please be in the room well in advance of the presentations. If you can, 15 minutes before the presentation. In case you need some IT support in those rooms, Elias's contact details are in each parallel session room. So you can be able to contact Elias for any such support. Okay, I'm going to invite Blessing Gumbu, a Siyaphumelela Scholar. Blessing is a neuroscience and physiology honors student at the Neuroscience Institute at UCT. And he is the 2025 Siyaphumelela representative for that institution. A UCT alumnus, passionate about education, equity, and science communication, he runs a YouTube channel, a BSc Chronicles. He co-leads podcast projects and has run fundraising campaigns for the Red Cross Children's Hospital Trust. He received the 2024 DSA Student Leadership Award and was featured in the 2025 UCT Inspirational Graduate Series. Currently, Blessing is the honors class representative, and he leads the UCT SIT podcast project and is part of the honors SciComm team. He aspires to be a neuroscientist and a neurosurgeon. Blessing, welcome to the stage.
Greetings, everyone. I'll be presenting my poem, Becoming the Voice of the People. Blessing, you are soft. You are soft. You are too soft. Like a shadow, criticism follows me everywhere. Men don't talk like that. Men don't walk like that. And. Born different, I am the opposite of the traditional image of a Shona or traditional man. Too soft, too emotional, too feminine, you name it, and I am. I am a caged dreamer. Sorry. Sorry, can I start? Sorry. I'm just nervous. Okay. No, it's fine, yeah. Becoming the voice of the people. Blessing, you are soft. You are soft. You are too soft. Like a shadow, criticism follows me everywhere. Men don't talk like that. Men don't walk like that. And. Born different, I am the opposite of the traditional image of a Shona or African man. Too soft, too emotional, too feminine. You name it, and I am. I am a lamb that was touched by a wolf at the age of 7. If you say anything, I'll inform them that you seduced me. Words from the perpetrator. Innocence robbed. The trauma, a fallen figure I buried in my heart. They believed the wolf. Ludicrous behavior from the odd Shona boy, they said. A matter badly handled in African cultures. Behind stitched lips, voices stolen, disgust and pain, wounds bleeding in silence, bitterness, unforgiveness, spitefulness, these ferocious voices eat away the soul while those who've hurt you continue living their lives. Forgiveness, a light I searched for relentlessly until I found peace. Forgiveness is for oneself, not for those who've hurt you. I was a caged dreamer, a closet education enthusiast, taught to dream with caution and limits and never beyond. In my tradition, furthering education is not common. Young Shona boys and girls with sights set on early marriage, as demanded by societal pressures and tradition. Great minds are pummeled into a pulp. All ambition, drive, goals, gone. Redirected towards adult responsibilities and piled on with marriage. Change begins when the truth is spoken aloud, even though the reality is that a woman raises her children despite also being a child, that a man works tirelessly to provide for his home, be the proper head of the home. Silence is a pre-existing condition. Society and tradition take precedence. I am a Shona boy, fascinated by the functioning of the human brain and healthcare systems in South Africa, eager to be of service to and help improve people's lives. I knew I had a calling beyond the confines of my community, so I clung on to my education. Chawakari Maunoko made it to the University of Cape Town, Africa's top university, my dream university, underneath the mountain inhabited by world-class researchers and students, the leaders of tomorrow, who like sponges soak up the invaluable knowledge and countless opportunities. Yes, being a student is complex. Cape Town is expensive. UCT, even more. Tuition, residence, food, you name it. Despite being in the Dean's Merit List and getting distinctions, shortfalls linger in the minds of many students. I am young, aspiring to become a neuroscientist and a neurosurgeon. Is it too ambitious for a Shona village boy? No. From a small Shona boy to a student advocate and a leader. Recipient of the 2024 DSA Individual Student Leadership Award for contributions to community service, social justice, health, and media. Featured in the 2025 UCT Inspirational Graduate Series. YouTuber and a podcaster, research career advocate. I am a proud Shona apostleman. But most importantly, I am the people. A testament of Munumunu Newangwewan. Blessed with an abundance of mentors, God's hands at work. One's aspiration should not be limited by their background. I am the definition of Ubuntu. Where I am today is because of all the support that I've received from family, mentors, and friends. Proof that together we are able. Together we can go far. I am the voice of the people. I am a descendant of strong black parents, quiet hands that carry the world. My late father, Joseph Moyo, a nobleman. My mother, Grace Gumbu, a standing lioness. Marriage is pivotal in my culture. Divorce, unacceptable. Mostly women are marginalized. But she stood when my sisters endured abusive marriages. She stood during the debate of whether I should or not further my education. She stood against the taboo in our culture that women should never speak up against men, against unjust traditions. She stood, and that is the reason I still stand. I am the voice of the people. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that blessing. Thank you. So we're moving on to the next part of our program, which is our Deputy Vice-Chancellor's panel discussion. And I'd like to invite our DVCs to please take to the stage. Part of the panel discussion this year, we've got Prof. Lekalakala-Mokgele, who's the DVC Teaching and Learning at the University of Venda. We've got Dr. Muki Moeng, who's the Deputy Vice-Chancellor for Learning and Teaching at the Nelson Mandela University. We've got Prof. Monnapula-Mapesela, who's the DVC Academic of Student Affairs at Rhodes University. Prof. Catherine Moran, who's the DVC Academic from the University of Canterbury in New Zealand. And Prof. Ruksana Osman, who's the DVC Academic of the University of the Witwatersrand. So I'm just going to go briefly through our Deputy Vice-Chancellor's bios. I'll provide a brief overview of the panel discussion, what its purpose is, and then we'll jump directly into some of the questions. So, Prof. Lekalakala-Mokgele holds a PhD in nursing from the University of the Free State. As the Deputy Vice-Chancellor of Teaching and Learning, Prof. Lekalakala-Mokgele oversees the development, implementation, and enhancement of academic programs within the institution. By ensuring the adoption of effective teaching methodologies and fostering continuous improvement, she plays a vital role in delivering high-quality education and enhancing the student learning experience. In her role, she is also responsible for overseeing student success. With over a decade of experience in senior and executive management roles across various higher education institutions in South Africa, she brings extensive expertise in research, having supervised undergraduate, master's, and PhD students to completion. Prof. Lekalakala-Mokgele is recognized for her commitment to educational transformation and evidence-based academic practices. Let's give her a warm round of applause. Next on our panel, we've got Dr. Muki Moeng, who is the Deputy Vice Chancellor for Learning and Teaching at Nelson Mandela University, appointed at the beginning of June in 2023. A senior alumni of the institution, she holds a doctorate in education and has played a pivotal role in advancing teaching, learning, and academic transformation in South Africa. Before her current role, she served as the Executive Dean of the Faculty of Education, where she led numerous initiatives promoting equity, access, and social justice in education. Dr. Moeng's academic leadership is rooted in a strong commitment to student-centered and socially conscious education. She has championed programs such as collective reading clubs, early career guidance from grade 7, and the Social Consciousness and Sustainable Futures Initiative. Her efforts are also focused on promoting digital learning, critical thinking, and increasing the participation of women in science and technology. A breast cancer survivor and former youth activist during apartheid, Dr. Moeng brings a lived experience of resilience, courage, and purpose. Dr. Moeng is widely respected for her servant leadership style, ethical integrity, and unwavering commitment to inclusive, quality higher education. Professor Monnapula-Mapesela is Rhodes University's first black female Deputy Vice Chancellor for Academic and Student Affairs, appointed in July 2019. She is an accomplished scholar who has supervised several postgraduate students. Prof. Monnapula-Mapesela exemplifies transformative leadership and commitment to educational excellence. Her journey from teaching high school biology and chemistry, lecturing at the Free State, to esteemed academic roles at Rhodes University and the Central University of Technology demonstrates her dedication to student access and success. Notably, she led pivotal initiatives during the COVID-19 crisis, developing protocols, policies, and transformative projects that ensured teaching and learning continued at Rhodes University. She has also extensive national service with the Umalusi and the Council on Higher Education, remaining a revered advocate for the quality of teaching and learning, social justice, transformation, student access, and success. Prof. Ruksana Osman is the Senior Deputy Vice Chancellor Academic at the University of the Witwatersrand. Prior to this appointment, she served as the Deputy Vice Chancellor for Advancement, Human Resources and Transformation, as the Dean of the Faculty of Humanities and the head of the School of Education. Her experience in higher education spans the full range of roles at all levels of institutional management, governance, and leadership. A professor of education, Prof. Osman has extensive teaching and research experience in the field of teacher education and higher education. She has an established reputation for impactful scholarly work in the broad fields of higher education policy, pedagogy, and students' lived experiences of equity and access to higher education. Professor Osman holds the UNESCO Chair in Teaching Education for Diversity and Development and has established a global network to support the research and development work of the chair. She is widely published in academic and popular press and is the author and co-author of multiple papers, journal articles, and books. An elected member of the Academy of Sciences of South Africa, Prof. Osman is recognized for the quality and relevance of her work in higher education as a teacher and researcher in the pursuit of socially just education. And lastly, we have Prof. Catherine Moran, who is the Deputy Vice-Chancellor Academic at the University of Canterbury in New Zealand. Catherine leads the education strategy at the University of Canterbury, which focuses on accessible, flexible, future-focused education in a context where students thrive. The strategy encompasses student success, and Catherine began her work in 2019 when she and her colleagues heard Tim Rennick present at a student success conference in New Zealand. The journey for the University of Canterbury is closely connected to South Africa, as Vice-Chancellor Cheryl de la Rey is well known in this area. Now Catherine and her colleagues Kayleen Sampson are working closely with Ntabising Agudi and Wendy Kilfoyle to bring a scaled-up student success program to the University of Canterbury and New Zealand. Catherine also wants to acknowledge her colleagues, Karen Smith, who is from the University of Victoria, Wellington. So just to give a brief purpose of what the panel is really for our Deputy Vice-Chancellors to share their institutional insights into implementing Siyaphumelela and student success at their institutions to the wider community of our conference delegates. And secondly, is also to highlight the commitment that the executive management has towards Siyaphumelela and student success. Thanks. Okay, thank you very much for that. So, Prof, having attended DREAM recently, what lessons have you learned from DREAM that can be applied or are you applying at your institution?
Ashton, I'm going to take this opportunity to just formally thank DREAMS for inviting us. I must say it was one of my first experience. There were so many themes that were provisioned to us during the DREAMS. A lot, to an extent some overwhelming, but well thought, well planned. And I must say the most dominating one for me was the use of data, whether through admission, through support, through all other forms. But that's not what I'm going to talk about this morning. I'm going to talk about what I thought was crucial and critical, which was part of what was discussed on that day, and for those 3 days. And probably I'll talk about it because it's something which we always think is a norm and not necessarily a norm. Higher educations in our institutions are always affected by or looked at when we have to talk to your students through strikes. And that shouldn't be the case. You should not hear the students when they are unhappy. For me, the first thing that came out of that was leveraging and looking at the importance of the student voices. And that sat with me the 3 days that were there up to when I came back. So, elevating student voices is central to co-creation of the institutional culture and just changing the culture of that institution and ensuring that everybody else understands what a student voice means, what a student voice means in terms of them wanting to be supported, hearing them even before their programs surface. At UNIVEN, more than 80%, and it's literally about 85-87% of our students come from Limpopo province, with many arriving from the rural environments. And for some, university represents their very, very first experience beyond their immediate homestead and communities. So these students come with their own baggages. They come with not knowing how to express, not knowing how to say, this is what I need, not knowing how to just say, help me. For them, getting there is just, they arrive with a basic knowledge, and their parents who have almost, in the main, have just told them, children are not heard, they are seen. So we have those kind of students. So while the main orientation programs on the arrival, which is complemented by the faculty-specific orientation, which provides them an initial introduction, these activities have been found to be insufficient, especially in fully supporting students' transition and integration. So it is important to know that faculties also plays a very vital role actually in ensuring that these students are part of what the university is doing. They are part of the faculty boards. They actually also get invited when the faculties and the departments are reviewing their program. So the student voices are there. But for me, after the dreams, recognizing the need to hear directly from the students and place their experiences at the center of our practices, my office, as a DVC, really hosted what we call our very first engagement session with our first year students in April. And we chose April deliberately because they would have then completed their very first assessment, formal assessment. So this platform was actually created to reinforce universities' commitment to genuinely listening to students' perspectives, recognizing their experiences, and working together with the students for their inclusive and responsive institutional culture. So what we did is when we organized that, it was quite important that student success is just not the DVC's or the lecturer's responsibility. So I had the team, the Directorate of Student Affairs, I got student housing, we had security, we had a Center of Teaching and Learning, we had all the deans and the faculties, we have Infrastructure Directorate. SRC actually ran the event for us, which was quite interesting. We had the library, we even had the representative of gender-based violence. Because for me, I thought everybody else had to be there to hear what the students were saying, what their voices are, and especially the first years. But because we had an estimation of about 3,000, between 3,000 to 5,000 students, we knew that they were not all going to come. But fortunately, about 500 rocked up. And when they came in, we thought we're not going to make it just a complaining platform. Otherwise, we're not going to really achieve the objective of what we wanted. So we had actually put it into a digital platform. There were barcodes with themes, specific themes that would guide. So we divided the students into groups, and they would answer on the platform, and then they'll have one representative telling us what exactly is it that they really need from us as management. And 6 themes were quite prominent. One was their transitioning into the university in the first term, the safe environment, whether it's safe in terms of physical safety, emotional safety, and all of that, issues of finances and registration, issues of teaching and learning, their space, their classroom, their digital spaces, their assessments, and all the other things. They're coping with stresses. When we were not looking to give them, of course, we wouldn't even be able to give them therapy on that. For them was for them to understand there is strategies for them to help them transition through a higher education. And we really received a lot of information. And out of that report, we then shared it with the broader university, the faculties, and the broader university to say, see, this is what our students are saying about their registration. This is what our students are saying about how safe they feel. One of them even said, when I wrote a test, my lecturer ridiculed me in the middle of about 100 students and told me, what a stupid answers you have given me. So those are the kind of things you teach. You actually say to a lecturer, you give a student that safe space when they have actually been assessed. So for me, this was the first of the many conversations that I think are quite crucial to have with the students. And our next planned one is with the class representatives, because they truly then represent what the students are saying, our SRC, and actually our first or our final year students. Student voices are crucial. We can make or break them, but if you do not hear them, then there's a big problem. Thanks.
Thanks very much, Prof. Prof. Monnapula-Mapesela, would you like to respond?
And also mention what Rhodes does. I must, first of all, mention that Rhodes University is one of the last born of the network, which joined Siyaphumelela just a few years ago, and we became a full member only last year and received generous funding from the Kresge Foundation. And that funding is useful in that it is supplementing what we already have from the UCDG. And what we have done is not to reinvent the wheel, but to look at all our support programs and to borrow from what we learned from the DREAM conference and enhance our own programs. In some cases, we have developed new programs. And I would like to thank the Kresge Foundation, Bill, and thank also STEADY team and the DREAM conference organizers. I think it's important to do that. In particular, the president of the DREAM, Karen Stout. I think she is a marvelous person. For the well-designed conferences, for her commitment and energy that made the DREAM a resounding success. And if we follow in the footsteps of that kind of a person, I think Siyaphumelela will go far. The benefits to Rhodes University of attending these conferences are immeasurable. I did not land on the one thing because I've attended several conferences, DREAM conferences, but there are many learning opportunities, and I must say Rhodes has been privileged to be part of this network. I would like to mention a few, but I think these lessons are assisting our university to immerse itself in a more coherent, coordinated, and evidence-based student development and support, creating various structures and enhancing existing ones. Among them, I would like to mention a few. That success is in having dedicated teams. Rhodes University is now part of a community of practice for student success and has dedicated institutional team of staff focusing on student academic development and support, a coordinator at an associate professor level, 3 staff members at lecturer level who are here today, and a SIA team, I call it a SIA team, Siyaphumelela team, also comprising the Director Student Services and Development, who's also present today, and the DVC herself. We also have established a student success committee, a subcommittee of the Senate Teaching and Learning Committee, which includes various stakeholders, academic deans, student leaders, student services and development, CHETL, our Center for Higher Education, Research, Teaching and Learning. I'm sure many people know CHETL. Our support services, the finance, the registrar, and institutional planning. And the subcommittee creates a space for open engagement towards a culture that places students at the center of the academic project. And this will assist with long-term sustainability, institutional ownership, and collective responsibility. We are pulling everybody else together. And this comes directly from being a member of the Siyaphumelela. A third thing is the need for a more coordinated and strategic institutional approach. And while Rhodes University has had several development and support programs, tutoring, peer mentoring, orientation for first-year students, a few extended studies, it always placed focus on developing academics as teachers, as good teachers, and encouraging scholarly approaches to academic development. But I think the DREAM and Siyaphumelela have challenged the university to rethink how we do student development and support, and to ask ourselves important questions such as, why do students come to our university? Who are these students? How do they engage with the university studies and their learning? And what barriers persist and why? So these are some of the questions that we're asking. And from that, we realize that there is a huge articulation gap between the school and the university, and therefore we decided to focus on development of academic literacies, disciplinary and learning, to assist students in making a smooth transition from school to university. Teaching them how to learn, how to read, how to write, how to be, and how to know within their disciplines and at the university, and how to value their studies and how to value higher education. So those are some of the things we're focusing on. Making obvious the not so obvious, not only to students coming to higher education, but also to academics who take for granted that their disciplinary knowledge is accessible. So we have developed toolkits in this regard, some resources, and we continue to develop some. Some of these toolkits focus on disciplinary literacies and some on the learning literacies widely. And when students come to university at the beginning, during the orientation week, each student is handed with a toolkit. And when they get to their faculties, they also get a toolkit that is disciplinary specific. The one that we use during orientation is more general, it's for learning. How do you manage your time? How do you do this 1, 2, 3, and 4? So those are the things that we are doing, and soon we'll put this online so that they can be accessible not only to our students and I guess to the bigger community of Siyaphumelela. I also learned the importance of coaching, and during our coach visit in 2024, last year at the end, we engaged various campus stakeholders and began to appreciate both the synergies and disconnects across divisions, and highlighting a need for shared language and shared understanding of what student success is all about, getting a common point of reference and stronger collaboration across units that contribute towards student success. And I think the one other important thing is developing a data culture or practice, and the crucial use of data in understanding students' challenges, support, and academic development needs. We have identified high impact courses, and we are engaging and encouraging the relevant academics or lecturers to take part in academic literacies workshops and to reflect more on what the problems are with their courses. And I must also mention the inspirational poems by the scholars, that this are, for me, a special component of the DREAM conference. And this highlight the importance of building platforms for students, not just as recipients of knowledge from us or support, but as co-constructors of solutions as well. Spaces to build student confidence. And at Rhodes, we have always had students be members of governance committees or be at the forefront of lots of activities, but I think now we are doing it with intentionality. The DVC Academic and Student Affairs established a series of quarterly student success conversations with first-year students called Pathways to Success, to assist the first years with transition from school to university. These are held in collaboration with various university stakeholders, deans, the SRC, other student leaders, volunteers, director student services, counseling center, and shuttle staff. In this, students reflect on their university journey, share challenges and success stories, and ask questions about how to navigate challenging spaces. It's more like what my colleague mentioned there, and I know that we did discuss this at some point. All our student development programs are benefiting in one way or the other. Like I said, we are not reinventing the wheel. We are borrowing important aspects of the DREAM and using those to enhance our own programs. Our tutor training now makes visible the academic and learning literacies to the tutors. And tutors are students, but we are also saying they need to understand what exactly it is in the courses that needs to be unpacked. Student peer mentoring programs include mentor and mentee reflections as well. So students get a chance to reflect on whether even those toolkits that they're given are working or whether they are learning. Our academic and learning literacy toolkits, as I said, form an important part of our first year orientation. And I must also say that, as I finish, that it was evident from the DREAM conference that a lot of work must still be done to address disparities in student mobility, outcomes, and the impact of education in socio-economic development and shaping student futures. I think that was something that came out clearly. At Rhodes, Rhodes University is part of the, what we call the EDHE, Entrepreneurship Development in Higher Education Network, and our students have established communities of practice to pursue entrepreneurship. The institution has a hub as well, which is headed by a professor of entrepreneurship who is also a chair of the learning and teaching community of practice. And this person mentors our Rhodes University student entrepreneurs. Our community engagement, on the other hand, connects the university with the communities of Makanda, because we have realized that Rhodes University, and also being in a small town, those of you who know Makanda or Grahamstown, you'll know that Rhodes will not exist without the community, and the community will not exist without Rhodes. So our community engagement is very strong, and each year we have students that participate in what we call engaged citizenry or volunteerism. And this year we have about 972 student volunteers participating in 6 programs: high school mentoring, as well as reading clubs, amongst others, working with 47 partner organizations, with 2,225 beneficiaries who are mostly learners from the public schools. And this is how we are connecting our university to the community. Students come from the community, they study, but we also want them to give some social responsibility back to the community where they are. Thank you, Ashton.
Thank you very much. So our next question is, what is the biggest challenge of student success at your institution, and how are you addressing that challenge in your student success ecosystem?
I guess it's me to respond to that. It will seem like I was sitting in the same room with Prof from Rhodes. So the greatest challenge is in having what you call a unified approach towards student success. And I want to believe that this is not the only challenge for UNIVEN. Most of our institutions of learning struggles with that. Student success is in the main seen as the responsibility of the teacher, the dean, the deputy dean, the DVC, whether DVC teaching and learning or DVC research, and anybody else seems they have no input, and that is not an accurate information. And that says, how do you then institutionalize student success? I think Tim yesterday also alluded to that matter in terms of some of the issues that happens within universities that really impact on student success, and that those things are actually outside the classroom. So what we did first thing first was to resuscitate our institutional student success committee. So it was a bit in ICU. We needed to resuscitate it, bring it alive, bring it to breathe, and people understand what an institutional student success looks like. So we reviewed the terms of reference of the institutional student success, and it included all academics, from the deanery, deputy deans, the lecturers, the teachers, the tutors, the students, finance, security, student housing, you name it. Everybody else who breathes and lives in the university had to become part of this student success, or be a representative of this student success committee. So in other words, the committee was actually there, but it was quite dormant, not existing. So it was important that I sing student success for everyone. I think it gets out of everybody else's ears. And I thought, by the time I leave, they should actually say that woman was the student success person. She was actually advocated for those students, and whether it was a preferred version or not, for me, it is important. My students means a lot to me. That was the first thing. So our student, let me just go back. The faculties are actually the main custodians of interventions for student success because of the fact that they bring with them their pedagogical practices for student success. A chattel, of course, is an enabler because the chattel comes with that strategy that then supports the student success activities, and other divisions plays a very, very big role in student success. And I think it's also important that we all recognize that student success is not about them passing a module in class. There are so many things that really factors that impact them. The academic abilities of those students, the kind of students that we actually receive from basic education is crucial. Motivation and self-regulations of the students to be able to sit down, their social support, their learning environment. Is it conducive for them to learn? Their mental and their physical well-being. Do they have food to eat? Do they feel safe to be in their space? Can they be in class and answer questions? Those are issues. The young students of today are not like us, where adults, people, engagements where if your mom and your dad were fighting, it's their business. Your business is to be a child. They take the business of their parents. If a parent is divorcing or their parents are divorcing, it impacts them on them, even in school, irrespective of whether they are on campus or off campus. Peer influence is quite important. Their socioeconomic status, most of them, I think 95% of 98% of our students are NSFAS funded. But we think they are funded, but the funding is not, we have heard even from conversations yesterday that the funding is actually not sufficient. So therefore, student success has to be taken up by everyone. When a student walks through the door of an administrator, you can't send the student to another person. Your responsibility to ensure that when they need to change their module at your level, you are contributing to their student success. When they go to finance and say, NSFAS has not paid me, much as we are not responsible for NSFAS, you can't look at a student and let the student die from hunger and think you're going to look away. It's still your role. Who do you call? Where do you refer this student to? Who do you contact to say, I've seen a student, the student is struggling? Those are the things that I think are important. So the student success at Univen is actually driven, and I want to say that the student plays a center stage in our students' that success through the programs that we have. We have what you call mentors. They call them mentors. We call them mentors because they play a role of mentor and tutoring. And these are actually governed through the academics, where the academic staff would then say, these are the things that we think students are struggling with. So take a role and ensure that you support. So the mentors are then formally appointed. They are also trained by Chettle. So then we also have what you call peer helpers, and the peer helpers actually takes a much broader role, where they also look at in the psychosocial issues of our students. They take care of our students even in the residencies, where we can see them during the classroom peak periods. So they actually assist us with that. Each peer mentor is allocated 5 students to look after. But then Chettle also oversees that these students are not overburdened whilst they're looking after these students. So we also have just recently appointed what you call senior mentors for each faculty, because then they oversees what the mentors, each faculty has a number of mentors, so they oversees what these mentors are doing. But our senior mentors are now in your master's program, so they're quite fairly senior. We also then have those what do the high impact modules, those that you have identified as at risk modules. We've commenced with our supplemental instructors, they're also run by students. It's important that we also note that. So what happens is the lecturer would identify those at risk modules and then identify a student who's doing very well. And then would then say, now that you're doing quite well, we want you then to support a student who's struggling with this particular module. And I think students do better when they really get it from their peers. That does not take away the responsibility of an academic from ensuring that this student is actually truly supported. Then we also then have what you call academic advisors, and they're still also our postgraduate students. They're actually working with our deputy deans to ensure that our students are supported. Just to link on what Prof. Mapesela was saying in terms of just entrepreneurship, we really have a very strong strategic thrust in terms of developing entrepreneurial mindset for our students. So there's actually a KPI that simply speaks to our students learning to be to have an entrepreneurial mindset. We've looked into the fact that employment is hard, irrespective of what the education that you are giving them. So that when these young men and women exit the university, those attributes should speak to, can I do something on my own without having to expect someone to do that? Of course, we have our chattel, which I think is common to all universities, where you'd have your academic development department, we have our e-learning unit, we have our student counseling and career development unit. But so basically that's but this is not exhaustive. There's a lot that we are doing. I am trying to stick to my 5 minutes.
Thank you.
Thank you. And I agree 100% around the challenge of a unified approach where people are really understanding it across the university. So we spent a lot of time, actually, my colleague Kayleen and I, when we started this student success work, actually working with the faculties. So we have reasonably good buy-in from the faculties, especially at the higher level. They have an understanding of student success. In fact, we used Tim's question, "Are we the problem?" and spoke to faculties. But it's been clear that there are parts of the institution we're missing. So when we started working with Ntabising, she said to us right from the start, student success is everybody's business. So it's a real challenge to make sure we do encompass everybody in the conversations, and actually not just having them involved in the conversations, but having the other parts of the institution really feel they own it, and that that's also their mission is around student success. So for instance, our digital team, it's tough because all the different parts of the universities have different priorities. Finance have to balance budgets, and digital, many of us are going through digital transformations, and so they have various and assorted pieces that they're trying to work to. But how do we bring them along to see that their mission is also student success? Everything we do is around student success. For our facilities management, it's not just about maintaining the buildings, it's maintaining the buildings so the students have a good learning environment and so on. Related to that is also, we talk about student success, and again, under Ntabising's guidance, we pulled together a student success committee. But of course, we have, all of us, I'm sure, have lots of committees across the university. And sometimes when you go, say, to your faculties or to others across the university, we're going to have a new committee, and they think, oh my goodness, this is just another addition to the many, many committees we have, and this committee's working on X, and that committee's working on Y, and how does it all tie together? And we're looking at how actually the Student Success Committee becomes the center of gravity for all of those committees to come together. So one of the things we did, again under Ntabising's guidance, was after the Student Success, we developed the Student Success Committee, which is all our associate deans and our Maori and Pacific representatives, and we actually ran a whole of institutional workshop. And it had, we had a survey, and then people came and joined the workshop. And I will say, I met people after the workshop. I met somebody from our audiovisual team who I've seen around the university lots. And he came up to me and he said, in all my years at the university, 20 odd years, I've never been invited to something like this. I've never been to some kind of a workshop where I'm working with the academics. Our Vice Chancellor was there, you as DVCA were there, just never experienced it before. And it really brought it home how critical that is. From that, workshop, we are creating then an institutional plan to go forward. And the intent is to integrate some of the work that we're doing across all these other committees, because I know I do like to create a new, besides our established Senate committees, I do like to have a work group on this and a work group on that, and this is going to integrate that and bring that together. I won't go into the detail on it because we happen to be running a workshop on it tomorrow, Thursday, about our institutional approach and that how we've built that workshop and how we're building the plan going forward. But that's been a challenge, but I feel really confident that we're heading in the right direction with it.
Great, thank you very much. Thanks. So we are a little bit short for time, so if we can move on to the next question. Can you briefly describe how student success is included in your institution's strategic plan? How do you operationalize and institutionalize student success at your institution? Prof. Monnapula-Mapesela?
I must first mention that we don't as yet have that student success framework. We're still working on it. And I think that framework is going to help us with this coherence and having everybody else seeing their part. But our strategic plan, which we call an institutional development plan for 2023-2028, does have 8 goals, and 3 of those goals speak directly to student success. One talking about ensuring quality of scholarly teaching and learning for powerful knowledge, and ensuring that students are engaged, critical problem solvers who are socially responsible global citizens. So this talks to access and success as well as our community engagement at the same time. And the second one talks about promoting access to Rhodes for or by academically qualifying students and creating academic conditions that enable them to thrive and succeed. Apparently we actually had those before Siyaphumelela said anything. We were already on point. And they are different owner. In fact, I own, as the Deputy Vice Chancellor, this 3, including another one, these 3 goals. So at the executive level, I am the owner. And there are other people who will be operationalizing all these goals. The third one is about creating an engaging, transformative student experience that promotes holistic development, growth, and academic success. Again, this is just on point in terms of our focus on student development. And in our strategic plan, we also have some values as well as graduate attributes, which we also ensure our graduates have by the time they leave the university. And as I said, I own those. And what I normally do is to bring together all the people who have to implement, and we plan. We have already done the strategic plan, but we also have planning at the end of the year with all these parties. And the only group that never really comes to plan with me, I must declare, they are the deans, because the deans do not report to the Deputy Vice Chancellor, Academic and Student Affairs. I think Rhodes is one of the two institutions, if I remember, where deans do not report to the Deputy Vice Chancellor, but to the faculties. But they still have to look at the IDP, our Institutional Development Plan, and plan accordingly. And then there is monitoring that happens. But in terms of all teaching and learning matters, we work collaboratively. So we work together. And I do monitor, I do request reports in terms of student success and performance. And we normally discuss this at an academic leadership forum, where we talk about the challenges and those high impact courses and what to do with them. And another important thing that I should also mention is that we have various structures that are also implementing not only the faculties, but we also have some of these activities or programs that we implement through our committee structures. Our teaching and learning committee, our faculty boards perhaps, as well as the student success committee now plays a key role. But it reports to the Senate Teaching and Learning Committee on all the matters. But I must also mention that the challenge of establishing that committee was just what you mentioned. People saying we got too many committees. And I guess I could be one of the people who could say that because I chair most of those committees. So establishing a new committee out of one major committee meant I had to chair even the subcommittee, which is not normal, So, but apart from that, sometimes we use task teams. If there are specific strategic issues that need to be implemented, we establish task teams out of those committees. We recently had two important task teams, one reimagining assessment and supplementary exam practices. And that relates directly to student success. And after we ensured that all students had supplementary exams, which was not the case, there were some faculties that did not provide such, at second and third year. Then we also saw an improvement in our student success. So in a way, this was definitely a barrier of sort, but we did identify that. And reimagining the residence system and operations for improved quality and sustainability. This one has come as a result of the capping of NSFAS accommodation for the students. So we are almost at the end, but every time there is change to be implemented, there are problems. There's always a little bit of resistance because people are used to doing things in a particular manner. So that is another important thing that we need to do. We need to be patient with change, although sometimes we can delay it. But my team say they pause and reflect. I like that idea of don't just push for what you want. Even this academic literacy project that we are implementing, they keep stopping and rethinking and reflecting and looking for better ways to implement. I don't know if there's something, but we monitor from all sides, and there are reports that are written by members of, although we don't have a performance management system, but people know they will write reports, they will submit them. And in our residences, for instance, a lot of things are being implemented. Even our mentoring program, we have one that is implemented in the residence system. We have student leaders in the residence system. Our SRC has a really big project on developing student leadership. So there is a collective of implementing all the things that are in our IDP. And we also end by celebrating excellence, which is also important through leadership awards, sports awards, dean's awards, merit awards, 100 leadership awards, and vice chancellor's teaching awards, even the alumni awards. I think those also encourage people to keep doing well. Our student success improved from 80% in 2022 to 85% in 2024. And this is the highest in 10 years. And we are hoping to keep working on this. One other thing that we thought could be holding us back is the fact that students do not write supplementary exams in the same year as the exams. They write subs in the following year, in January, February. And Makanda being so far, many students do not even come to write those, to take that opportunity. So we are working towards having those subs in the same academic year with the hope that before they go home, they can sit and write, and we definitely will see a change in terms of success for our students. But our university is a hub of intellectual activity, I must say, throughout the year. There are lots of things that we keep doing to try and ensure that students succeed. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks very much, Prof. Dr. Moeng, if you would like to share from Nelson Mandela University's perspective.
All right. Thank you so much, and good morning, everyone. I feel like I'm not going to have enough time because you're going to be looking at me. Our Vision 2030, our strategy aims, and I'm going to read it out, it aims to enhance student access and success through humanizing pedagogies. And by that we mean we are first and foremost human beings as we encounter pedagogically in the classroom and outside. We're also looking at holistic student-centric support, a vibrant living and learning experience, which means that learning happens inside the classroom and outside of the classroom. Student housing is important in how our students take the learning further from the classroom, moving on to where they live. And by doing that, we want to liberate the full potential of all students, so as to prepare them for life and work, not just work, because we always hear about employability, but these people need to be good citizens as well, for the public good. So staff and students then nurture and enrich their humanness as they engage through building a caring trust relationship. And for us, that is important, because at the end of the day, it is the kind of student that you would like to see at the end of their qualification, and that person being a citizen of our country. And this is based on mutual respect, embracing diverse knowledges. So we acknowledge that what students are bringing in the classroom are different kinds of knowledge. The being, which is different, the doing, which is different, we acknowledge that and we embrace that. Languages that are different as well, through inquiry-based and real-world problem-based approaches. Then this guides our curriculum design approach, our pedagogical encounters, and our student academic support programs. We provide opportunities for students to develop personal agency for change, hope, and social justice. And for us, that is important, because at the end of the day, when you get your qualification, you need to be able to do something with that, over and above the content, disciplinary content that you have been provided at the university. You need to use your agency. So our students are those agencies. And we see that when students take up opportunities as first year success buddies. They're welcoming others into the university, and we hear them talking about, I want students to experience the same thing that I experienced if it was positive, and if it was negative, I don't want the student to experience the same thing I experienced when I was a first year. So they take up those opportunities of being agents of change and hope. We also have our academic literacy and academic multilingual tutoring. That is very important. We've seen in a couple of faculties, Faculty of Education and in Health Sciences, where we have mother tongue tutoring, and we've seen the improvement in the academic performance of those students. Siyaphumelela has helped us with our introduction of the radar early warning system. We have a little bit of glitches now that we are clearing out in terms of our IT system. However, that has been a system that really assisted lecturers because that early warning system, you see the student from the beginning to the end, and you can refer, to the different departments where the student needs to go. We also, through Siyaphumelela Student Success Coaching, where each faculty has got a student success coach who then advises students and also would refer then students, whether they need psychological or emotional wellness prioritization. Through our dynamics of humanization, learning and teaching, we will see how this all flows from the humanizing pedagogy, because that's our educational philosophy. We engage with our students and lecturers. We reflect on learning and teaching. Our first one in 2023, we were talking about the pedagogy of care, how that is related to a humanizing pedagogy, because we believe that to be human is to care. And then the following one was on graduateness. What do we mean by graduateness? What are these characteristics, dispositions that our students are supposed to be engaged with or embody within themselves so that they become these graduates that we would like to see? And then this year we're looking at assessment as well as technology and how that, would assist us in transforming education as we move in this AI digitalized environment. And as we are talking about the importance of student success, we have at the beginning of this year I've committed with the deans, and fortunately the deans report to the DVC Learning and Teaching. So every year, beginning of the year, we've got a deanery breakaway. And we said that student success is our priority this year. And it is important that every faculty, every dean takes that responsibility. So our strategy then cascades down into faculties and departments through institutional committees. There's reporting into Senate, and we also report to Council. And there's a lot of questions that are being asked, so Council really keeps us on our toes in terms of the work that we do, as well as Senate. I think I'm going to end it there. Thank you.
Thanks very much. So, Prof. Osman, this question is to you. Given the conference theme this year of reimagining student success and expanding opportunity for all, what is the evolving understanding of student success at your institution, and how are you addressing that? Thanks, Prof.
Ashton, I'll give you an opportunity to claw back sometime, so I'll try to answer all of the questions that I see on the program together, right? I'll try my best to do that. I'm also delighted to see how big this community has gone, and you can no longer accommodate us at Wanderers, and we have to come here. So, I mean, it speaks volumes about the program. And so it's really wonderful to Sadie and the Siyaphumelela program. And of course, Kresge Foundation that's been visionary to make the kind of investment. I'm also delighted to be able to speak last so that I can hear all of the experiences. And actually what you come to see, we've been around the block a little while, but what you come to see from the Univen experience, the Nelson Mandela experience and the Rhodes experience, and of course your emerging experience at Canterbury, is that all of us are recognizing that student success is a complex business, right? It's a complex practice, actually. And in that complexity emerge new things. And I think the Univen experience, I'm learning from you that you're referring very much that student success, one's got to think about it as an ecology or an ecological practice. But from our experience, what we've really seen is that if you think about it as an ecology, all of it connected, like everyone speaks about making sure the transport people are there and the people who are cooking in the kitchen, etc. I think two variables have to be in place, and one of that really is about interdependence, the interdependence between all of those different communities that are serving the university. But the other one is really around the question of adaptability, the willingness to backtrack a little bit and revisit and then start again. So I think our experience has been an ecological approach that needs to have all of the players in. But what I'm coming to see quite a lot is that we want the ecological experience at the level of the educators must be there, the students must be there, members from residents must be there, etc. So we got an ecological approach in terms of thinking about it, but the implementation and oversight is still siloed. So you still have different committees, and then you have a student success committee. So the challenge for us is, how do we create an ecological approach, not just to thinking about student success and our practice, but the oversight and the monitoring and evaluation. And I think that becomes a challenge, because the first refrain is, we have too many committees, why do you want another committee? So that I think is a challenge for us at Wits University. And then a point that I do want to make is, you can have a student success framework, you can have all kinds of frameworks and policies, but I think these are not substitutes for leadership. And I think leadership matters. And I do think that DVCs have to, and their teams have to play a central role in shaping campus climate for student success. So we can have quite a lot of collaboration, etc., but leadership matters, and these are not substitutes. And then let me conclude now in trying to answer both questions. I think the people are central to student success. So the students are on the receiving end of it, but frankly, as a senior DVC, I couldn't do much without the actual team who's leading the student success work. So this is a shout out to all the student success teams at your universities. And particularly to the WITS team that sits here and there. I simply couldn't do what we do. But let me conclude by saying the following. I think education is complexified in ways that we can't imagine and are beyond the control of DVCs, certainly, and even VCs. But I think if we hold an educationally expansive view about what education is and what it can do in our practice, then I think this must be the vision. And we must be able to hold on to this view, especially when it's becoming harder and harder to hold on to this view. Because to have an educationally expansive view is really to hold on to the idea of what is the purpose of higher education. And more that is getting lost. So you can see at your university, you're holding on to the humanistic approach. But this is becoming harder and harder. And I think the challenge is, how do you hold on to an educationally expansive view, especially when it becomes hard? It's a little bit like academic freedom, holding on to it in really tough times. So I'd like to conclude with that then. Thank you.
Thanks. Dr. Moeng, if you'd like to respond.
Yeah, that's so powerful. I don't even want to say anything after that. But mine is just also to stress our understanding of student success, that it is everybody's business. From student housing to student transport, because we see when students don't get transport, they are late for class, then they don't attend, they don't write their exams. So that is important, but also to understand that there's interconnected factors that are complex and involve a mixture of personal, institutional, socio-economic factors, policies, systems and processes, where we need to ask ourselves, let's look at the policies, because you can't just say sometimes it's policy and there's nothing else that I can do. These policies were created and developed by you. So why can't you review the policy to see how it can accommodate the existing realities? And we also understand the profile of our students. At our university, 73% of our students are NSFAS students. And that comes with all of those challenges and complexities of student hunger. We've got a student hunger working group, student nutrition working group that I coordinate. Even sometimes when I feel like, yo, it's not learning and teaching, but it affects, and they would say, students would say, DVC, it affects learning and teaching. And so I do take on some of the responsibilities that should have been taken by other people, but I feel that it is important for me to do that. And with NSFAS, student housing and accommodation is really a challenge, especially when we have rural students who are coming from the deep rural areas of the Eastern Cape into Gqeberha, which is a mini city. Most people from Joburg think that we are not a city, but we believe that we are a city. And coming in, you know, with all of those dreams and hopes of having a better future for themselves and for their families. So the work, in conclusion, there's Nelson Mandela University group there, thank you so much. And there's another one there, and then there at the back, yes, see, they're waving. I also want to do what you did. But then in conclusion is that the work that we do is work that is important. And at times I feel that we cannot sit back and complain about what is happening with politics if we don't start doing what we are supposed to do at university, because it is important. It is our graduates who go there and be unethical in those government institutions. So it is important that we do our part.
Thank you, thanks very much. We have run out of time, but Prof. Moran, I'd just like to give you an opportunity just to have some concluding thoughts, if that's okay. Thanks.
Yes, I think I just want to share that, well, first of all, that it's fabulous to be part of this. And I think it's important to recognize all our successes where they are. We've talked about all the challenges, but really important to recognize the successes. Certainly, I feel where we've moved, you know, we see one of our greatest successes really is the academic ownership coming about that we're seeing across University of Canterbury. How did we get that? The data, the data, the data. Once the academics started to have access to the data, they started to look at it themselves. They started to ask questions about the data. Why is this course looks like it has poor outcomes. What's happening? And we could answer, we could say, you know, that course, 50%, there was one course we discovered 50% of students were not going on to get a degree if they did that course in first year. So that kind of data and those kinds of questions came because the academics are now curious and really interested in looking at the data. So again, the importance of data, which we've heard all across, I just want to end with that because it's a powerful lever to change behavior.
Okay, thank you very much. We've reached the end of our panel discussion, so I really want to give our panelists a huge round of applause. We do have a little token of appreciation. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ashton.
Yeah. Yeah. I'll talk. Well, okay. Thank you very much to the DVCs. I think the messages were very clear. And I'm hoping that everyone will have a takeaway, at least one takeaway from the panel discussion. So without wasting much time, I would like to invite another one of our Siyaphumelela Scholars, Zoe Bok, from the University of the Western Cape. Sorry? Let me give some bit of introduction to Zoe. Zoe is a master's student at the University of the Western Cape with a research focus on play therapy through a social work lens. In addition to her academic work, Zoe is a first-year transition officer where she supports and mentors incoming students as they adjust to university life. Zoe approaches every aspect of life with kindness, with compassion, and with a deep sense of purpose. She believes in going the extra mile in whatever she does, especially when it comes to serving others. Whether it is in her studies, in her work with other students, or through dance, Zoe is driven by a passion of connection, of transformation, and of wholehearted living. Zoe, I invite you to come and recite your poem.
Good morning, everybody. Okay. I think not. You are hearing my breath, the breath of slave, native, laborer, and immigrant, the breath of Zoe Bok and Ursula Reed. Mpumalanga's misty dawns cradling my first breath. This breath continues from East London's dusty mornings, Uppington's sunburnt afternoons, and Johannesburg's restless nights. Cape Town's wind-swept promise, Gravrinet's quiet streets echoing with old stories. Atlantis' tense corners, where sirens' wails gulped my breath with the grip of gangsterism. There were days in Bella when the loneliness and the fear factory of being female smothered, pounded my heart walking home through streets menaced with shadows and whispered threats. A mosaic of places, each one a piece of home. I choked in the tides of my father's careers and under tide of divorce. The silent guilt of feeling responsible for our house of conflicts, becoming a child between two homes, a pendulum between having and poverty. I exhaled in the ache of being the outsider in my father's house, my family a suitcase packed and unpacked by hope and hardship, my family a patchwork of my stepmother, step-siblings, half-siblings, and the silent spaces left by separation. When I finally lived with my mother, a mother I barely knew, a new beginning laced with old wounds, a family learning to fit together, healing and hurt in equal measure. The new girl in every classroom, my name a seed in unfamiliar soil, each school a maze of customs and faces, never quite belonging, never quite seen. Each new school a lesson in letting go, each goodbye a silent grief, each ache a friendship left behind. Who was I across so many faces and places? How can I measure myself when standards shifted like sand? Why was the warmth of true belonging only to be glimpsed from a distance? So I wore a mask, and underneath this mask I wore resilience. My academic record would not be lost in translation. So I breathed, yes, I breathed my breaths. My academic prowess would not be lost in translation. I carried the weight of financial worry, tuition and rent like stones in my backpack. Nisvas, a lifeline, but never enough to ease the burden. Each rand a reminder of sacrifice. But then, at UWC, where the walls remember the struggle, where the soil is rich with footsteps of those who fought for freedom with books and bare hands, there I understood education is the most powerful weapon which you can use to change the world. Mandela's words resonated deep within my heart, and I began to believe that my story too could change. At UWC, I inhaled the oxygen of philosopher Mhlumi. Mu tseha onna sehlare kepilo. Power does not lie in medicine. Power lies in the heart. Yes, so I made it. You hear me breathing, carried by the breath of slave, native, laborer, and immigrant, carried by the breath of the daughter of Zoe Bok and Ursula Reed. Ek is nie 'n slagoffer van my omstandighede nie, maar die argitek van my eie toekoms. My heart a compass that points to hope. My voice a drumbeat that calls others to rise. Mu tsoke bato babang, I am, because we are. I praise every hand that lifted me, every voice that called my name in the darkness. My story, woven into the tapestry of liberation. Hier het ek besef, ek is deel van iets groter. En ek dra die drome van my familie, my gemeenskap, my land. Every step forward was a chorus of encouragement. Every stumble, a lesson in humility. Every victory, a testament to the village that raised me. I am because we are, not victims of circumstance, but witness to the power of community. A living metaphor for hope. A testament that the storm may shape the tree, but it is the air, the clean, lovely air, brought by the sun and the rain and the forest, the ancestral breath that helps it reach for the sky. Therefore, let the world know, I am not what happened to me. I am what I choose to become. I am because we are. Rooted in the soil of shared struggle, blossoming in the light of collective triumph. Despite it all, I made it. Victim of circumstance? I think not. I breathe, Moya, my soul. Yes, I breathe, oh, so very freely. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Zoe. How brilliant and how eloquent she brings home the message. Thank you very much. Without wasting much time, I think we need to end the session here so that people can quickly grab a cup of tea and be in the relevant parallel session rooms by 11 o'clock because the sessions should start on time. Thank you very much, everyone.